It was a case that shocked Houston and reverberated across the world. A young influencer, whose life appeared picture perfect on Instagram, was found dead, discarded like an object on the side of a quiet suburban road. At just 26 years old, Alexis Sharkey's life was cut short, and behind her glamorous online persona lay a story of manipulation, betrayal, and hidden fear. This is the unsettling case of Alexis Sharkey, a story of beauty, ambition, and the dark truth about the people we trust most. Alexis Lee Robinow was born on January 25, 1994, in Pennsylvania. Intelligent, ambitious, and independent, she excelled academically, graduating with a degree in biology. Her early ambitions pointed toward a career in environmental science, where she hoped to make a meaningful difference. But her path shifted when she became involved in network marketing, where her charisma, persistence, and charm drew people in effortlessly. Her natural presence and glowing personality helped her build a strong online following. She shared beauty tips, travel content, and snippets of her life in sunny Texas, where she lived with her husband. To her thousands of Instagram followers, Alexis seemed like the definition of modern success: stylish, confident, and living a glamorous life that many envied. Her posts gave the impression of a woman who had it all, and her smile projected an image of stability and joy. But behind the filters and captions, friends noticed cracks forming. Alexis was struggling in her marriage and often confided in those close to her that her home life was tense and unpredictable. She remained upbeat online, but the version of her life presented to the world was far from the truth she lived privately, a truth shadowed by growing unhappiness and fear. In 2017, Alexis met Tom Sharkey, a man more than 2 decades her senior. Charismatic, persuasive, and confident, Tom swept her off her feet, and by late 2019, the couple married and settled in Houston. At first, their life looked enviable. Together, they traveled, mingled in glamorous circles, and appeared to embody the perfect modern couple whose lifestyle seemed aspirational, often photographed smiling at events or vacations. But friends later revealed troubling dynamics. Tom was described as controlling, prone to angry outbursts, and quick to assert dominance in arguments that often left Alexis drained. She confided in several friends that she was planning to leave him, but feared how he might react if she tried. She reportedly believed Tom would never let her go easily, and the thought that he could harm her lingered in her conversations. By late 2020, their relationship had become volatile. Friends noticed Alexis withdrawing, sometimes skipping social gatherings, or appearing unusually anxious whenever Tom was present. She often seemed distracted, as though carrying a weight no one could see. Outwardly, she maintained the appearance of a happy marriage, but privately, she was preparing to make a drastic change she hoped would free her from the turmoil that had taken over her daily life. Thanksgiving of 2020 offered a small escape from the mounting tension at home. On November 26th, Alexis chose to spend the holiday with close friends rather than with Tom. Those who were with her described her as warm, lively, and relieved to be among people she trusted deeply. Still, she carefully avoided discussing her husband in detail, as if unwilling to let the subject darken the mood, or perhaps afraid to reveal just how difficult things had become. 2 days later, on November 27th, Alexis met with friends again. She laughed, made plans for the future, and shared her excitement about changes she hoped to make in the coming year. Her friends noticed she seemed unusually determined, as if she was preparing herself for a new chapter and quietly drawing strength from their support. To them, Alexis radiated resolve, and they believed she was finally ready to make a bold step forward. That night, she returned home. According to Tom, they argued. He claimed Alexis left the apartment without her phone, purse, or belongings, a claim her friends found impossible to believe. Alexis was never without her phone, and she rarely left the house without letting someone know her whereabouts, which made his story feel improbable from the start. The next morning, her absence became chillingly clear. Texts went unanswered, calls went to voicemail, and her social media, normally active every day, was silent without explanation. Concerned friends contacted police almost immediately, while her family in Pennsylvania issued desperate pleas online for help finding her, terrified that something terrible had already happened and that Alexis's warnings about her safety had come true. On the morning of November 28th, Houston sanitation workers driving along Red Haw Lane noticed something strange lying near the roadside grass. At first glance, it looked like a mannequin, but as they slowed for a closer look, the horrifying truth came into view. It was the naked body of a young woman. Police arrived quickly and secured the scene. The way her body was positioned was unsettling, carefully placed, not hastily discarded. There were no scattered belongings, no clothing, and no signs of robbery. Within hours, the victim was identified as 26-year-old Alexis Sharkey. The news spread rapidly across social media, leaving followers in shock. To them, she was an influencer who seemed to have it all. To her friends, the discovery was devastating, but not entirely surprising. Many admitted they had long feared something like this might happen. The initial autopsy offered few answers. There were no visible gunshot wounds, no stabbings, and no obvious blunt force trauma. Toxicology tests were ordered, but detectives already suspected foul play. Investigators interviewed Alexis's friends, who revealed the troubled state of her marriage and the fears she had voiced about Tom's temper. Several said she had openly spoken of her plan to divorce him and her fear that he might react violently. Meanwhile, Tom Sharkey gave multiple interviews to the media. He denied any involvement, painted their marriage as perfect, and accused others of spreading lies. His defensive tone and lack of visible grief raised suspicions. He even suggested Alexis might have harmed herself, a theory police quickly dismissed based on the scene and her state of mind. Detectives mapped her last known movements, reviewing surveillance footage, checking cell phone records, and examining tower pings. A troubling picture began to emerge, one that pointed not to a random attacker, but to someone in her inner circle. By January 2021, the Harris County Medical Examiner ruled Alexis's death a homicide by strangulation. The ruling erased any remaining doubt. She had been deliberately killed, her life taken in an act of intimate violence. Investigators believed Alexis had been murdered inside her apartment and her body later transported to the roadside location. The evidence, combined with testimonies from her friends, increasingly pointed to her husband. Allegations of controlling behavior, financial disputes, and past aggression placed Tom Sharkey firmly in the spotlight, but suspicion alone wasn't enough. Detectives needed overwhelming evidence to secure a warrant, and Tom, aware that investigators were closing in, stopped cooperating entirely. Nearly a year passed before police obtained what they needed. In October 2021, authorities secured a warrant for Tom Sharkey's arrest on charges of murder. By then, Tom had already left Texas and was staying in Florida. Working with U.S. Marshals, investigators prepared to arrest him quietly. But Tom seemed to sense the end was near. On October 5th, 2021, just hours before police were set to take him into custody, Tom Sharkey was found dead in his daughter's home in Fort Myers, Florida. He had taken his own life. The news delivered a complicated mix of relief and frustration. For Alexis's loved ones, his death meant he would never harm anyone again, but it also robbed them of a trial, accountability, and the chance to hear him answer for what he had done. After his death, the Harris County District Attorney confirmed what many already believed. Overwhelming evidence pointed to Tom Sharkey as Alexis's killer. They revealed that the murder had likely been triggered by her decision to leave the marriage, a choice Tom could not accept. For Alexis's family, the grief was immeasurable. They described her as vibrant, compassionate, and deeply loved. Friends shared stories of her laughter and her generosity, reminding the world that behind the headlines was a real person, a daughter, a sister, a friend. Her death sparked difficult conversations about domestic violence, coercive control, and the hidden dangers in relationships that appear perfect from the outside. It was a sobering reminder that behind carefully curated images on social media, there can be pain, fear, and silence. The murder of Alexis Sharkey is a tragic story of beauty, betrayal, and the danger of ignoring warning signs. She was a woman with dreams, a bright future, and a carefully crafted online world. but behind the screen, she was suffering. Her story serves as a reminder that appearances can be deceiving, and that true safety depends on recognizing and addressing the signs of abuse before it is too late. If you or someone you know is experiencing domestic abuse, don't stay silent. Reach out, seek help, and know that lives depend on it. If you found this case as important and eye-opening as we did, make sure to like this video, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more deep-dive true crime stories that honor victims and reveal the truths behind the headlines.